A janitor thinks he can fix this. Cassandra Royce's voice sliced through the boardroom like a whip. 20 executives turned their heads as she gestured toward the dead machine on the table. Her diamond bracelet caught the light, flashing as if mocking the man in the doorway. Darius Coleman froze, a black trash bag still clutched in his calloused hands. The smell of bleach clung to his orange janitor uniform. He hadn't even stepped inside before the laughter began. "God, you even smell like motor oil," Cassandra sneered, taking slow steps in her red designer heels until she stood inches away from him. Her perfume, expensive, sharp, mixed with the stench of disdain. "Here's a deal," she purred, her voice dripping with contempt. "Repair this engine, this $2 million marvel of artificial intelligence that my Ivy League engineers couldn't touch, and I'll marry you right here in front of everyone." The room erupted in nervous chuckles. Some executives hid their smiles behind coffee cups. Others shook their heads, enjoying the spectacle. Cassandra's lips curled into a cruel smile. "But when you fail, and you will, security will escort you out permanently. You'll never set foot in this building again." She snapped her fingers, and 2 guards appeared at the side doors like shadows summoned on command. The laughter grew louder. Phones came out, recording. A few interns whispered, "This is insane," but no one dared interrupt. Darius stood motionless, trash bag sagging at his side. His dark eyes flicked from the gleaming chrome of the engine to the smirking faces around the table. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to mop the floors, empty the bins, stay invisible. But now the spotlight was on him, cruel and merciless. What no one in that glass tower knew was that this janitor carried Detroit in his veins. Engines had been his language since childhood, and humiliation, as sharp as it felt, could not erase what he'd inherited. Cassandra leaned closer, her voice a whisper amplified by silence. 2 hours, janitor. Prove what you are, or be gone." The cameras blinked red. The live stream began. Thousands of eyes would watch him fall, or rise. Royce Industries towered 45 stories above Silicon Valley, a glittering fortress of glass and steel. To outsiders, it was a beacon of innovation. To those trapped inside, it was a pressure chamber on the verge of collapse. At its heart sat the company's crown jewel, a revolutionary AI-guided engine built to power autonomous delivery trucks. 3 years of development, 47 patents, $50 million in contracts waiting on its success. An invention meant to change the industry overnight, but the jewel refused to shine. For 6 straight weeks, every attempt had ended in failure. 14 minutes, 37 seconds, one exhausted engineer muttered after another test. "That's all it gives us before the UCAS shut down 67 diagnostics, 3 different teams, Harvard, MIT, Stanford mines burning through millions. The result was always the same: overheating, smoke, and a cryptic warning: harmonic disruption detected." In the boardroom, tension pressed down like a storm. Coffee cups piled like ruins. Screens flashed with red error codes. Investors whispered of disaster. "If this engine dies in front of the Germans," an intern whispered to his colleague, "we're finished." The Germans, led by Dieter Weiss of Munich, were already in the air. Their €100 million commitment would make Royce Industries untouchable. Without it, the empire would crack. Every failure made the stakes clearer. The company's future, its reputation, its survival, everything balanced on a machine that refused to run longer than 14 minutes. And now, with the countdown to the investor demonstration ticking, desperation spread through the tower like smoke. Assistants sprinted through marble halls. Engineers argued over meaningless theories. The smell of fear clung to the walls stronger than polish or glass cleaner. The live stream counter blinked to life. Soon, the world would be watching. Royce Industries had promised a revolution. What they delivered might be a funeral. Cassandra Royce ruled her tower like a monarch in stilettos, couture suits cut to perfection. blonde hair pulled tight into a bun sharp enough to slice. To the world outside, she was a visionary. Inside her 45 stories of glass and steel, she was a dictator. Her red heels echoed against marble like warning shots. Every click sent assistants scurrying. Every glance silenced conversations. $67 million evaporating every week. This thing refuses to run, she barked, her voice cracking like a whip across the boardroom. And all you geniuses can give me is harmonic disruption? No one dared to answer. A junior engineer cleared his throat. We tried hardware replacements, full software patches. Cassandra's eyes narrowed. Stop. Don't insult me with bedtime stories. I don't pay for excuses. The man shrank into his chair. Around him, laptops glowed with the same useless error codes, faces pale in the light. This was how Cassandra led, by fear. She didn't want devotion. She wanted trembling obedience. Interns whispered about how she scheduled janitors to wander through investor briefings, props for her narrative of inclusivity. She humiliated managers in front of their teams, laughed at Ivy League pedigrees when they failed to deliver. Click, click, click. Her heels struck the floor as she paced. I built this empire on precision, she snapped, slamming a manicured hand against the polished table. And if I have to burn through every one of you to protect it, I will. Silence followed. Not the silence of respect, but the silence of survival. To investors, she was the Iron Lady of Silicon Valley. To those trapped inside her tower, she was a storm they couldn't escape. And now, with her empire slipping and a machine mocking her, Cassandra was hunting for a new victim. That victim had already walked through her door, carrying a bag of trash. For 3 years, Darius Coleman had pushed a cleaning cart across Royce Industries' marble floors. He emptied trash bins, polished chrome handles, mopped the streaks of spilled coffee. Executives brushed past him as if he were part of the furniture. Coleman, you missed a spot, a manager snapped one afternoon without looking up from his phone. Yes, sir, Darius said, gripping the mop handle tighter than he needed to. In their eyes, he was nothing more than the cleaning guy. The title followed him in emails, in jokes muttered just loud enough to sting. What no one saw was the framed diploma leaning against the wall in his tiny apartment, a degree in mechanical engineering from community college. He had been on track to transfer to a 4-year program. His grades were flawless. Professors called him gifted. But when his mother's cancer struck, tuition money turned into hospital bills. Son, we'll figure it out, his mother had said, weak but smiling through chemo. No, Ma. I'll figure it out, Darius promised, taking 3 jobs just to keep her treatment going. By day, he cleaned offices. By night, he studied borrowed textbooks, salvaged engine parts, anything he could find to keep his skills alive. He knew he was overqualified for the mop in his hand, but survival had no patience for pride, and beneath all the exhaustion, there was legacy. Detroit summers had raised him in a garage that smelled of gasoline and steel. His grandfather, Henry Coleman, had been one of the first black foremen at Ford, a man who taught engines the way preachers taught scripture. Feel this, boy, Henry had said, guiding young Darius's hand onto a rumbling engine block. That's not metal. That's a heartbeat, pistons talking to each other, valves keeping time, 8,000 explosions a minute, and if you listen close, it'll tell you what's wrong. Darius had listened. He'd learned to diagnose problems by the hitch in a rhythm, the faint tang of oil burning too hot, the vibration that didn't belong. Engines don't lie, Henry repeated often. People will. Bosses will. But machines? They tell the truth to those who respect them. Those words stayed with Darius long after the garage lights went dark, long after the funeral, when the tools were sold to pay medical bills, long after he traded textbooks for a mop bucket. Every night, pushing his cart down Royce Industries' marble corridors, he passed the scattered blueprints left behind in boardrooms, and every time, the whisper of his grandfather's voice returned. Engines don't lie. Listen close, and they'll speak to you. No one in that tower had ever looked at him twice, but Darius Coleman had never stopped listening. In the upper floors of Royce Industries, humiliation wasn't random. It was policy. The HR department's emails proved it. "Cut him before Q3, wrote Lauren Briggs, the director. "Coleman's title is technical consultant, but everyone knows he's just the cleaning guy." A string of laughing emojis followed from another manager. "Does he even read the company directory?" Cassandra Royce had fueled it. She scheduled his cleaning rounds during investor meetings, letting him shuffle past suits and leather chairs like a stage prop. "We believe in giving opportunities to everyone," she'd say with a smile, just sharp enough to cut. The room would laugh, mistaking cruelty for charm. This morning, she spotted Darius outside the boardroom with his mop bucket. Her eyes lit up with an idea. "Coleman," her voice cracked like a whip. "Come in here. Our guests should see what dedication looks like." Executive smirked as he stepped inside, trash bag still in hand. The engine lay on the table, dead and gleaming under fluorescent lights. Cassandra's grin widened. "Tell me, Janitor, what do you think is wrong with our miracle machine?" A few chuckles broke out. Darius kept his eyes down, jaw tight. He didn't answer. From the back of the room, Ruth Johnson watched. She'd been serving coffee in this tower for 20 years, a cafeteria worker who'd seen every cruelty dressed up as leadership. She sighed, shaking her head, and when Darius passed later with his cart, she caught his arm. "They don't see you, baby," she whispered, voice low so the guards wouldn't hear. "But I do. Don't let them break you." He nodded once, swallowing hard. It wasn't much, but in a tower built on humiliation, Ruth's quiet words were the only mercy he had. The laughter in the boardroom snapped to silence when the glass doors opened. A line of men in tailored suits stepped inside, their shoes clicking in perfect rhythm. At the center was Dieter Weiss, silver hair, steel-gray eyes, posture like a blade. He carried the weight of Munich in his stride, the kind of presence that made even Cassandra pause. Behind him trailed a delegation of German investors, faces set in stone. They sat together like a tribunal, their movements synchronized, their notebooks opening in unison. One whispered in clipped consonants, the sound cold as machinery. To the Royce executives, it felt like Judgment Day. "Gentlemen," Cassandra said, her smile snapping back into place, "welcome to Royce Industries." Dieter adjusted his cufflinks, eyes drifting to the silent engine on the table. He didn't return her smile. "We were promised a revolution," he said, each word weighed and deliberate. "We will see for ourselves." The tension thickened. Engineers shifted nervously in their seats, as though the delegation could see straight through their failures. And then came another figure, smaller, slower, but no less commanding. Dr. Helena Vargas, 62. Legendary. In the automotive world, she had designed power systems that changed entire industries. 40 years of patents, innovations, and the scars of battles won in boardrooms like this one. Her heels made no rush, her leather notebook balanced in her hands. She didn't speak, not yet. She simply scanned the room, her sharp eyes catching everything. The sweat on the engineer's brows, the twitch of Cassandra's manicured fingers, the engine sitting broken under fluorescent lights. "Dr. Vargas," Cassandra said carefully, "we are honored." The older woman inclined her head, her expression unreadable. She didn't look at Cassandra, she looked at the engine. Every executive in the room understood the stakes without needing to be told. If Dieter Weiss and his delegation walked away unimpressed, the 100 million euros they carried back to Munich would vanish. If Helena Vargas declared the project unworthy, Royce Industries' reputation would crumble overnight. The engine had mocked 67 tests, 3 Ivy League teams, and 6 weeks of wasted brilliance. Now it would face a tribunal, colder than steel, and a witness who missed nothing. The countdown to judgment had begun. The auditorium groaned under the weight of 200 employees packed shoulder to shoulder. Royce Industries had summoned everyone. Engineers in wrinkled suits, interns clutching notebooks, managers with hollow eyes. At the very front, the German delegation sat in a precise row, Dieter Weiss in the center, silver hair gleaming beneath the lights. Next to him, Doctor. Helena Vargas opened her leather notebook, pen poised like a scalpel. Their faces were unreadable, but their presence alone turned the room into a courtroom. Cassandra Royce stood at the podium, red heels planted like weapons. Her smile was razor-thin. 6 weeks, 67 diagnostics, $50 million waiting to evaporate. Our crown jewel is still dead, and effective immediately. She paused, savoring the silence. We begin cost reductions. Non-essential personnel will be terminated. A wave of dread rolled through the crowd. Someone stifled a sob. Her eyes swept the room and locked on a figure near the back doors. Darius Coleman, orange coveralls bright under fluorescent light. She let the silence hang before twisting the knife. Some positions were mistakes from the beginning. Snickers broke out among a few executives. Darius felt the heat rise in his chest, his grip tightening on the mop handle. His grandfather's voice cut through the noise. Engines don't lie, son. Listen close. His hand rose. Ma'am, he said, steady though every eye turned to him. I think the problem isn't software integration. It's harmonic calibration. The room froze. 200 heads swiveled toward the janitor. Whispers darted like sparks. At the front, Dieter's brows lifted, interest flashing. Helena's pen stilled mid-sentence. Cassandra blinked once, then her lips curved into a cruel smile. She stepped out from behind the podium, heels clicking against the stage. Well, the cleaning staff has opinions about advanced engineering. Her words dripped with venom. Tell me, Coleman, do you truly believe you can solve what 67 Ivy League graduates could not? Murmurs rippled across the auditorium. An intern whispered, He's done for. Darius didn't flinch. I believe the engine's been trying to tell you what's wrong. Nobody's been listening. The investors leaned forward. Helena's eyes narrowed with curiosity. Cassandra's laughter rang out sharp and theatrical. Then let's give the world a show. She raised her hand, signaling to her assistants. Cameras blinked on, lights flared, and the company's social media feed went live. You have 2 hours, she declared, her voice booming across the hall. Fix our $2 million miracle in front of all of us. Our board, our investors, our employees. Succeed, and I'll promote you to senior consultant. Fail, and you're finished. Security will drag you out of here, and I'll make sure no tech company in Silicon Valley hires you again. Gasps echoed. The live stream counter ticked upward. 10,000, 20, 50. Screens across the valley lit up, and in Detroit, barbershops crowded around phones, watching. On stage, Cassandra's smile gleamed like polished steel. 2 hours, janitor. Prove you're more than a mop. The boardroom was no longer a boardroom. It was a stage. 200 employees crowded against the glass walls, whispering, filming, waiting for blood. The live stream counter blinked. 20,000, 30,000, climbing fast. Comments scrolled. This janitor's finished. MIT grads couldn't fix it. No way he can. The engine sat on the mahogany table like a metal beast. Screens around it pulsed red with error codes. Cassandra Royce gestured toward it, voice sharp as glass. Here it is. 6 weeks, 67 failures. And now, our janitor will show us how it's done. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Dieter Weiss leaned back, expression unreadable, adjusting his cufflinks. Beside him, Doctor. Helena Vargas uncapped her pen and began to write. She didn't look at Cassandra. She looked only at the man in coveralls. Darius stepped forward. His palms rested on the table's edge. The room hushed as though waiting for a verdict. From the back, a low whisper. He's shaking. He won't last 5 minutes. Then Ruth Johnson moved through the crowd, tray in hand. She slowed as she passed him, her voice barely above a breath. Keep your head up, baby. Something slid from her tray, a rolled set of papers. They hit the floor with a soft thud. Darius bent, picked them up, blueprints, stamped in German. His heart kicked. The originals. He slipped them under his arm before anyone noticed. 35,000 viewers, a marketing assistant hissed to Ita Leonzi. Cassandra. Good, Cassandra murmured, her smile like a blade. Let the world watch him fail. The boardroom lights glared down, security guards flanked the doors, employees pressed closer to the glass, hungry for drama. The arena was ready. The trial of a janitor had begun. The boardroom was silent except for the hum of cameras. Darius placed both hands on the cold block of the engine, fingers spread wide, eyes closing against the glare of the lights. To the crowd, it looked like hesitation. To him, it was something else. The smell of oil and metal carried him back. Detroit. Summer heat pressed against the tin walls of a garage. Tools clinked, radios crackled with Motown, and the air was thick with gasoline. His grandfather, Henry Coleman, stood over a broken Mustang, sleeves rolled, hands black with grease. Come here, boy. Henry guided Darius's small palm onto the vibrating engine. Feel that? That's not just metal, that's a heartbeat. The engine thumped under his skin, steady, alive. Engines don't care about color, degrees, or money, Henry said, voice steady as gospel. They don't lie. People do. Bosses will. But machines? They tell the truth if you listen. Back in the boardroom, Darius's hands stayed pressed against the machine. A whisper rippled through the employees behind the glass. What's he doing? Just standing there, like he's praying. Henry's voice echoed again, carried across decades. Every piston's a drum. Every valve's a singer. When they're out of tune, you'll feel it here. He tapped his grandson's chest. Not here. He tapped a book of diagrams. Engine's got a soul. Respect it and it'll never lie to you. Darius's lips parted, though he spoke only to himself. It's fighting itself. Helena Vargas leaned forward, sharp eyes narrowing. She had seen engineers sweat over oscilloscopes, but never one close his eyes like this, as if the machine were speaking in a language only he understood. Cassandra smirked at the silence. 30,000 people watching, she said under her breath, just loud enough for the investors to hear. And our janitor meditates. But Darius wasn't meditating. He was listening. The cold block beneath his hands carried vibrations, the same kind his grandfather once taught him to hear. A rhythm out of tune, a heart skipping its beat. He opened his eyes, calm and certain. The garage in Detroit faded. The boardroom snapped back. Engines don't lie, and this one was ready to confess. The engine roared to life, filling the boardroom with metallic thunder. Employees flinched at the vibration rattling the glass walls. For a moment it seemed ordinary, pistons pumping, sensors blinking, exhaust humming. But to Darius the sound was wrong. He pressed his hand flat against the block, head tilted, listening deeper, his brow furrowed. It's fighting itself, he said, voice steady but loud enough to cut through the roar. Cassandra laughed sharply. That's an original diagnosis, Janitor. Fighting itself? Darius didn't look at her. The mechanical rhythm is perfect, but the AI is forcing it into a frequency it can't sustain. Like a conductor pushing an orchestra to play in the wrong key, the room shifted. Whispering flared. Helena Vargas uncapped her fountain pen, her hand moving quickly across the page. She glanced at the diagnostic screens, then back at Darius. Darius gestured toward the monitors. At 2,800 RPM, the pistons are in harmony, but the AI sensors expect a different frequency. They read the natural rhythm as an error, and they overcompensate. That's why it collapses after 14 minutes. Malik Turner, the youngest engineer on the team, leaned forward from the crowd. Wait, he's saying the code's chasing ghosts. That's why we kept patching software and nothing stuck. Darius nodded. You've been chasing ghosts, exactly. The machine doesn't need correction. It needs to be heard, the investors murmured in German, Dieter Weiss's expression sharpening. He leaned toward Helena, who only raised her hand slightly, silencing him. She wanted to hear more. From the back of the room, an engineer scoffed. Ridiculous. We tested every harmonic frequency Darius turned. Eyes calm. You tested the ones the AI told you to, not the ones the machine was actually playing. The silence that followed was heavier than the engine's vibration. Malik rubbed his temples, realization dawning. He's right. God, he might be right. Cassandra snapped. Don't indulge this fantasy. 35,000 people are watching, and you want to believe the janitor hears music in metal? But Helena's pen scratched faster across the page. She looked up, her voice cool, precise. Engines as orchestras. It is, not without merit. Darius kept his hand on the block, eyes closed again for a moment. It's not broken. It's just being forced to sing the wrong song. And for the first time in 6 weeks, the boardroom stopped mocking and started listening. The engine hummed steady under Darius's palms, but his eyes shifted to the spread of blueprints Ruth had slipped him. Lines of German notations, numbers precise down to thousandths of a millimeter. He traced them with his finger, then grabbed the American spec sheet from the diagnostic table. Here's the second problem, he said, voice rising above the low roar. This engine was born in 2 languages. Cassandra scoffed. Enlighten us, maestro. Darius pointed at the German sheet. This crankshaft? Machined in Munich. Diameter 87.63 millimeters. Tolerance plus or minus 0.001. He lifted the American version. But the AI calibration was written here in California. It assumes 3.450 inches. Convert that, and you get 87.663 millimeters. A murmur swept through the room. Mathematically close, Darius continued, but mechanically? It's different. The AI is chasing a ghost error that doesn't exist. German parts are perfect to their own tolerance, but the American software thinks it's off Helena's pen, scratched furiously. Malik Turner leaned forward, eyes wide. That's why the system kept overcorrecting. It thought every component was out of spec. One of the senior engineers shook his head in disbelief. You're telling us we burned 6 weeks because of unit conversion? Darius met his eyes. I'm telling you perfection looked like a flaw because no one bothered to translate properly. Dieter Weiss finally moved, his chair scraping against the polished floor. He took the blueprint himself, silver brows knitted tight. He measured with his fountain pen, lips moving as he checked the numbers. Minutes ticked by. The silence grew unbearable. Then Dieter looked up. Hat recht, he said softly. Then, louder, in English. He is correct. The room erupted, some gasping, some whispering. Malik exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. Cassandra's smile faltered for the first time. You can't be serious. Dieter's voice was iron. German precision tolerates nothing less than perfection. Your system punished it for being precise. That is not engineering. That is incompetence. The words landed like hammer blows. Cassandra's face froze. The live stream comments exploded, and for the second time in minutes, the janitor had dismantled 6 weeks of failure with nothing but clarity. Darius spread the blueprints across the polished table, eyes scanning the numbers one last time. The boardroom buzzed with murmurs, the live stream counter flashing past 45,000. He exhaled slowly, then reached into the cabinet of spare parts. What he held up looked unremarkable. A metal disc, perforated with precise holes. A harmonic dampener, he said. Cassandra rolled her eyes. That? A toy from the supply closet? Darius shook his head. No, it's a translator. This engine and the AI are speaking different dialects. The dampener bridges the gap, absorbs the false vibrations, and lets them communicate in harmony. The crowd stirred. Malik Turner's mouth fell open. Wait, you're saying a $50 part could fix what we burned millions on? Darius nodded once. Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. An older engineer scoffed. Impossible. You can't stabilize 6 weeks of chaos with a disc of metal. Darius set the dampener into place, his movements steady, confident. Watch me. The boardroom leaned in. Helena Vargas stepped closer, notebook tucked under her arm now, her eyes sharp and focused. Cassandra folded her arms, voice dripping with venom. 38 minutes left, Coleman. Don't embarrass yourself further. Darius tightened the final bolt, then stepped back. His voice was calm. This engine isn't broken. It just needed someone to listen, and something to help it sing in tune. Malik's hand shook as he pressed it against his forehead. God, how did we miss this? His voice cracked. 6 weeks of code, millions in consulting, and it was right there. His eyes glistened. We stopped listening. Silence hung heavy in the room. The janitor everyone dismissed had just reduced a crisis to a part worth less than a company lunch. Dieter Weiss adjusted his glasses, staring at the dampener. His voice was clipped, precise. Elegant, minimal. German philosophy would approve. Helena's lips curved ever so slightly. She scribbled one final note, ingenious in its simplicity. The stage was set. The machine was ready. The trial by fire had reached its final movement. The boardroom was buzzing, cameras still fixed on the silent engine. Darius wiped the grease from his palms when his pocket vibrated. A cheap phone, screen cracked at the corner. He hesitated, then glanced at Cassandra, her eyes sharp as razors. She smirked. By all means, Coleman. Take your call. The world can wait. He stepped into the shadow near the back wall, shielding the phone from the cameras. Ma? Her voice was thin, strained. Darius, they raised the bill again. The insurance only covers 60. Doctor says I need another round of chemo. Soon, he pressed his forehead against the cold glass, eyes shut. Don't worry about the bill. I'll take care of it. I don't want you killing yourself in that building just for me, she whispered. A cough rattled through the line. Promise me you'll walk away if it's too much. His throat tightened. He remembered the years of working double shifts, the nights falling asleep on bus seats, the countless times he'd told her everything would be fine. This time, he couldn't offer soft lies. Ma, I can't walk away, not now, not when we're this close. There was silence on the line, then a soft sigh. Your grandfather would be proud, you know. You've always heard engines the way he did. Just be careful. The call clicked off, leaving him staring at his reflection in the glass, a janitor's coveralls, sweat on his brow, and the weight of a family pressing down on his shoulders. Behind him, Ruth's voice came low. She called, didn't she? He turned. Her eyes were steady, full of the kind of knowing that comes from decades of surviving humiliation. You finish this, Ruth said firmly. Not for them? For her, yes, sir. Darius nodded, slipping the phone back into his pocket. The boardroom came back into focus. Cassandra's grin, the investor's calculating stares, Helena's sharpened pen. The engine waited like a judge about to hand down a sentence. He set his jaw. Failure wasn't an option, not anymore. The engine sat waiting, its new dampener in place. Employees pressed closer to the glass walls, the live stream counter spiking past 50,000. All eyes were on Darius, all except one. At the side of the room, HR Director Lauren Briggs shuffled a stack of binders. Her hands moved too quickly, slipping one thick folder behind her bag. The label, calibration logs, disappeared from sight. She pulled out her phone and typed furiously. Security, she whispered. Time to remove the distraction. 2 guards started down the aisle. Cassandra's lips curved into a cruel smile. Right on schedule, she muttered under her breath. But Malik Turner saw it. The young engineer had been glued to the diagnostics, but when he noticed the missing binder, his stomach dropped. He stepped forward, blocking the guards. Hold up, he said, voice cracking but firm. You can't drag him out now. He's onto something. One guard sneered. Orders from HR. Orders from fear, Malik shot back. His voice carried further this time, enough for the crowd at the glass to hear. Whispers spread instantly. Lauren hissed from the corner. Step aside, Turner. This is above your pay grade. Malik spun toward her, shaking his head. We wasted 6 weeks chasing software phantoms. He's the only one who's made sense in hours. You hide calibration logs now? That's sabotage, not procedure. The word hit like a spark in dry grass. Sabotage. Employees gasped. Phones shot up, recording. The live stream comments exploded. HR, cover up. They're setting him up to fail. Cassandra's face hardened, but Helena Vargas raised a hand, silencing the room. Show me the folder. Lauren froze. Sweat slicked her palms. It's confidential. Show me. Now, Helena's voice cut sharper than Cassandra's ever had. Reluctantly, Lauren pulled the binder from her bag. Helena flipped it open, scanning the neat rows of tolerance numbers. She looked up slowly. This is exactly what he described. German precision misread by American calibration. And you intended to bury it. A hush fell heavy. Malik turned back to Darius, his voice low. You keep going. Don't stop. I've got your back. Darius met his eyes, surprised. This was the same engineer who had laughed when Cassandra mocked him days ago. Now Malik was the one standing between him and security. The crowd outside pounded against the glass, some chanting his name. The live stream surged past 60,000, hashtags blooming across the feed. For the first time since stepping into that boardroom, Darius wasn't alone. And for the first time, Cassandra's control had cracked. The boardroom lights blazed, cameras fixed on the machine at the center of the table. 200 employees pressed against the glass walls, their breath fogging the panels. The live stream counter blinked, 70,000 viewers and climbing. Hashtags flooded the feed. Hashtag Janitor Challenge. Hashtag Engine Truth. Hashtag Royce Meltdown. Darius stood with grease on his hands, eyes steady. He glanced at Malik, who gave a small nod, then at Ruth, who mouthed silently, "For your mama." His chest tightened. "Start it," Helena Vargas ordered. Darius twisted the ignition. The engine roared to life, rattling the room with low thunder. Pistons fired in rhythm, sensors blinked, exhaust hissed sharp and clean. For the first minute, it was flawless. The crowd murmured cautiously. At the front row, Cassandra smirked. "Ticking clock, Coleman. 14 minutes, 37 seconds. That's all it gives before it dies." Dieter Weiss checked his platinum watch. "We will see." 2 minutes, 5, 9. The hum was steady, smoother than anyone had heard in weeks. Darius laid his palm on the block, feeling its heartbeat. "Stay with me," he whispered under his breath. Employees whispered, "It sounds different." No knocking, no smoke. Could he actually? At 12 minutes, the tension thickened. Laptops streamed data, temperatures holding steady, pressure flawless, harmonic frequency locked. Helena scribbled notes furiously, her pen moving like a violin bow. 14 minutes. The boardroom held its breath. 14:33, 14:35, 14:37. Nothing. No shutdown. No error code. The machine purred steady, like a choir finding its perfect pitch. Malik's eyes filled. "It's still running." His voice broke into a laugh. "It's still running." The glass walls shook with applause, gasps, shouts. Employees who had mocked him hours earlier now pounded the glass in disbelief. The live stream chat exploded. He did it. A janitor just beat Emmett. Black genius. Engines don't lie, but Darius wasn't done. He raised his voice above the roar. "Let's take it outside." Security guards wheeled the prototype engine to the courtyard, attaching it to the silent self-driving truck that had sat dead for weeks. The crowd surged to the windows, pressing phones against the glass. Cameras followed every motion. "Power up," Helena commanded. The truck's lights flickered, systems blinked alive. Radar spun, cameras focused, GPS linked. The hum of life filled the courtyard. Then slowly, the truck rolled forward, steady, precise. Outside, it glided around landscaping stones, executed a clean turn, and parked itself in a flawless parallel slot. The boardroom erupted. Shouts, gasps, applause thundered. Engineers wept openly. Malik shouted over the chaos. "How the hell did we miss this for 6 weeks?" The livestream viewership spiked past 90,000. Screens across the country lit up. In a Detroit barbershop, the crowd gathered around a single phone propped against a mirror. Clippers sat silent. Men leaned forward in chairs. Kids balanced on armrests. When the truck completed its maneuver, the room erupted. Cheers, shouts, fists pounding the air. "That's our brother," someone yelled. "They laughed at him, and he saved the whole damn company." Back in Silicon Valley, Darius stood beside the humming engine, chest heaving, sweat on his brow. He looked past, the glass walls at hundreds of eyes locked on him. For years they hadn't seen him at all. Now they couldn't look away. The engine's steady hum still echoed through the glass walls when Dr. Helena Vargas closed her notebook with a snap that silenced the room. She stepped forward, her voice calm but sharp enough to cut steel. "This man," she said, nodding toward Darius, "just solved what your teams could not in 6 weeks." Gasps rolled across the room. Engineers glanced at each other, some red-faced, some slack-jawed. Cassandra's smile froze, brittle as glass. Helena continued, each word deliberate. "His analysis was correct, his solution was elegant, and the execution flawless. I have worked 40 years in this field. I have never seen diagnostics this clean." Murmurs swelled, bouncing off the walls. On the live stream feed, comments poured like a flood. "She said it. 6 weeks versus 2 hours. Promote him now. Black genius, black genius, black genius." The chant took over the chat, thousands of messages scrolling so fast the moderators couldn't keep up. Dieter Weiss rose from his chair, slow and commanding. He fixed Cassandra with a look that could freeze glass. Then he turned to the cameras, his English clipped, precise. "Our delegation," he said, "is prepared to increase our investment by 20%. On one condition, the room leaned forward. Cassandra's breath caught. "That Mr. Coleman," Dieter gestured toward the janitor still in coveralls, grease on his hands, "lead the diagnostics team for our European expansion." The boardroom exploded. Gasps, shouts, the pounding of fists on tables. Stock analysts in the live stream chat typed furiously. 20% increase equals millions more. Cassandra's voice cracked. "You can't be serious. He's maintenance staff." Helena cut her off with a raised hand. "He is an engineer, and he has earned the title with results your Ivy League salaries couldn't produce." Malik Turner stood, voice shaking but strong. "She's right." We ignored him. We laughed at him. But he fixed what we couldn't. The live stream viewers surged past 100,000. The chant grew louder. "Black genius! Black genius!" Ruth Johnson pressed her hand to the glass, whispering as if Darius could hear. "That's you, baby. They finally see you." Darius felt the weight of every eye in the room. For years he had been invisible, mocked as the cleaning guy. Now the Iron Lady herself stood cornered, her empire shaken by the janitor she had tried to humiliate. Cassandra opened her mouth, but no sound came. The balance of power had shifted. She no longer owned the stage. And in the hum of the engine, still purring in perfect harmony, the truth was undeniable. The janitor had become the genius. By the time the engine purred past its 15th flawless minute, the live stream had broken 120,000 viewers. Screens lit up in kitchens, subway cars, dorm rooms, and cafes. Within minutes, the story leapt beyond Silicon Valley. A push alert from the Chronicle. Janitor fixes $2 million engine live. Royce Industries stunned a tweet from Jamal Whitaker, a Pulitzer-winning black columnist. From mop to miracle. Remember this man's name, Darius Coleman, retweets stacked by the second. The clip of Darius placing his hand on the block, eyes closed like he was listening to a heartbeat, looped endlessly across TikTok and Instagram. The caption, "Engines don't lie." Hashtag surged, hashtag black excellence, hashtag engineering justice, hashtag janitor genius. In Detroit, a barbershop erupted. Phones leaned against mirrors, clippers forgotten mid-fade. Men in chairs slapped the armrests, kids jumped up and down. "Look at him, that's one of ours." From trash bags to tech savior, tell me that ain't history. In a black church on Sunday morning, the pastor held up his phone between hymns. The live stream replay glowed across the pews. "This brother turned humiliation into triumph," the pastor thundered. "Say it with me, black excellence." The congregation rose, clapping, some weeping, the chant swelling to the rafters. Across the country, black teenagers in after-school robotics clubs watched the clip of Darius swapping the harmonic dampener. One boy leaned forward, eyes wide. "That's what I want to do. That's who I want to be." His mentor nodded, pride heavy in his smile. "Then remember, son, they may laugh at you first, but they'll clap when you prove them wrong." Back in the boardroom, Cassandra's phone buzzed non-stop with alerts. She glanced at the trending feed and went pale. The world wasn't laughing at Darius. They were laughing at her. Malik Turner scrolled his own screen, shaking his head in awe. "They're calling you black genius, man." "Do you understand what's happening? You just flipped the script for all of us." Ruth pressed her palm against the glass, whispering, "They finally see you." Darius looked around the boardroom, then down at his calloused hands. For years, those hands had pushed a mop. Tonight, they had pushed an entire community into celebration. On the live stream, Jamal Whitaker's tweet climbed past 1 million likes. His follow-up line became the headline repeated across every network. From mop to miracle. And in barbershops, churches, classrooms, and living rooms, black families said the same thing at once. "That's us. That's our story," the echo had begun. The boardroom smelled of oil, sweat, and victory. The engine had proven itself. The live stream had rewritten the story. And now the fallout began. A board member, Patricia Brooks, grey suit sharp, voice sharper, rose with a tablet in hand. "We've reviewed internal correspondence," she said, tone icy. "The evidence is damning." Screens lit up along the wall. Emails projected larger than life. "Cut him before Q3. He's just the EOD cleaning guy, Lauren Briggs, HR. Does he even read the directory?" Laughing face, Cassandra Royce. "We keep him for diversity optics." Gasps filled the room. The employees pressed against the glass erupted in murmurs. The live stream chat exploded. "They mocked him." Proof of discrimination. "Engineering justice." Lauren Briggs tried to stammer. "Those messages were private." Patricia cut her off. "They were company property." And now their evidence, Helena Vargas closed her leather notebook with deliberate precision. "This is not simply bad management. It is systemic humiliation. And it nearly cost this company its future." Cassandra's mask cracked. "This is ridiculous. You're taking the word of a janitor over 6 years of my leadership?" Dieter Weiss stood, his silver hair catching the light. His German-accented English was cool, final. "No. We are taking the word of results. He succeeded. You failed. The silence was heavier than steel." Patricia looked directly at Lauren. "Effective immediately. You are suspended without pay, pending investigation for HR misconduct. Your position will be reviewed by the governance committee." Lauren's face blanched. Security stepped forward, not with force, but with formality. She gathered her bag, trembling, as whispers followed her out the door. Then all eyes turned to Cassandra. "You can't fire me," she snapped. "I built Royce Industries." "Without me, there is no company." Patricia's voice didn't waver. "We're not firing you. We're demoting you. Effective immediately, you are relieved of CEO duties. You will serve as strategic advisor to the board." Cassandra staggered. That's a 40% pay cut. You can't humiliate me like this, Malik Turner muttered under his breath. Funny, that's exactly what you did to him. The board member continued, relentless. Additionally, you will enroll in mandatory diversity and inclusion leadership training. Completion will be a condition of continued employment. Cassandra's eyes blazed, but she could feel the cameras still streaming. Tens of thousands were watching. The hashtags were merciless. Every second of her outrage would become another viral clip. She bit down on her fury. Her voice dropped to a hiss. This is a witch hunt. Helena's tone was calm, surgical. No, this is accountability. Dieter nodded. Justice, delivered with precision. The employees outside the glass banged their fists in approval. Ruth's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Malik's shoulders finally relaxed, and Darius, standing silently near the humming engine, simply breathed. The live stream counter ticked past 130,000. The trending line shifted. Hashtag accountability, hashtag Royce downfall, hashtag black excellence. Cassandra Royce, once the Iron Lady of Silicon Valley, stood cornered, stripped of her throne, forced into training she had mocked, and bound by evidence she could never erase. For the first time in years, she had no control, and the janitor she had tried to bury was the one standing in the light. The boardroom still buzzed with the shock of Cassandra's fall when Patricia Brooks raised her voice above the noise. The board has voted. Effective immediately, Mr. Darius Coleman will be promoted to Senior Diagnostics Engineer. The words hit the air like a thunderclap. Gasps rippled through the crowd pressed against the glass. Phones shot up. Livestream comments exploded. He did it! From janitor to engineer. Black excellence, Patricia continued, precise and unwavering. This position includes a salary increase to market value, full benefits, and stock options. Furthermore, Mr. Coleman will chair our new task force on inclusive innovation, ensuring no voice in this company is ignored again. The applause was deafening. Engineers who had once rolled their eyes now stood, clapping until their palms burned. Even security guards nodded. The live stream surged past 150,000 viewers, hashtags multiplying. Darius stood frozen, the words sinking in. Senior Diagnostics Engineer. From trash bags to stock options, from invisibility to leadership. He glanced at his calloused hands, still smeared with grease. His mother's hospital bills flashed through his mind. Relief and disbelief warred inside him. Malik Turner pushed through the crowd, stopping in front of Darius. His voice shook. Man, I owe you an apology. I was one of the first to laugh at you, and you just schooled all of us. He swallowed hard. If you'll let me, I'd like to learn from you. Work under you, be your student. For a moment, silence hung. Then Darius extended his hand, steady and calm. Malik gripped it tight, his voice breaking. Thank you, brother. From the side of the room, Ruth Johnson stepped closer. Her eyes glistened, her smile wide and unshakable. She pressed her palm against the glass, whispering loud enough for the cameras to catch. We all knew you were more than a mop. The line hit like scripture. The employees outside the glass repeated it. The live stream chat lit up with the quote, copied again and again. More than a mop. More than a mop. Darius blinked hard, holding back the flood of emotion. His grandfather's voice echoed, Engines don't lie, son. People do. But if you listen, the truth will roar. Helena Vargas stepped forward, offering her hand. You have something rare, mister. Coleman instinct sharpened by humility. That is true engineering. Lead with it, Dieter Weiss followed, his handshake firm, his German accent resonant. Our delegation looks forward to working with you, Herr Coleman. Your methodology will lead our European expansion. The weight of it sank in. A janitor, once invisible, now held the keys to the company's future and a community's pride. The boardroom applauded again, the sound rolling like thunder, and outside in the world, from Detroit barbershops to Southern E, churches, From classrooms to factory floors, the echo of that moment spread. Darius Coleman had risen, and he was never going back. 6 months later, the skyline of Munich glittered under winter light. Inside the brand-new European R&D Center of Royce Industries, cameras flashed as the delegation gathered for the ribbon cutting. On the central wall hung framed patents, signed in bold ink, and in the middle, a fresh photograph. Darius Coleman, grease on his hands, standing beside the engine he had saved. Darius adjusted his tie nervously, still not used to silk instead of coveralls. But when Dieter Weiss approached, his handshake was firm. "Herr Coleman," Dieter said, his silver hair gleaming, "6 months ago, you were invisible. Today you lead our most critical expansion," reporters scribbled. Employees applauded. Helena Vargas clapped slowly, her eyes shining with quiet pride. One journalist called out, "Darius, how does it feel?" He glanced at the photo of himself on the wall, then at the German engineers nodding in respect. His voice was steady. "It feels like engines. You listen, you learn, and you let them sing in harmony." That's all it ever was. Applause rose again, louder this time. But the story didn't end in Europe. Detroit. The old Coleman garage on 8 Mile Road no longer smelled of rust and abandonment. Its brick walls had been scrubbed, its roof replaced, its doors thrown wide. Above the entrance hung a new sign, Community Innovation Hub. Inside, workbenches gleamed with donated tools, shelves stacked with spare parts, whiteboards filled with sketches of engines, drones, and robotics. On the far wall, a mural, Henry Coleman's weathered hands guiding his grandson's small palm onto an engine. The caption beneath in bold letters, "Engines don't lie." Kids filled the space, black teenagers in hoodies and braids, girls with notebooks, and boys with grease under their nails. They bent over projects, soldering wires, testing circuits, sketching ideas that could someday power the future. Ruth Johnson walked through the door carrying a tray of sandwiches. "Y'all hungry?" she laughed. The kids swarmed her, laughing, grabbing food, then rushing back to their projects. Malik Turner stood at the whiteboard, now working under Darius's guidance. He wore no arrogance anymore, only humility. He tapped a drawing of a solar-powered generator. "Think harmonic balance like Mr. Coleman taught us. Energy's got a rhythm too." And in the corner, Darius's mother sat in a chair, wrapped in a shawl, smiling as she watched. Her chemo treatments had stabilized, paid for by her son's new salary and stock options. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered to a visitor, "He built this not for himself, but for everyone." Darius entered the garage, sleeves rolled, eyes shining. The kids looked up at him with awe. One boy asked, "Mr. Coleman, do you think I could be an engineer too?" Darius crouched beside him, placing the boy's hand on a small motor. The hum was faint, but alive. "Feel that?" Darius said softly. "That's a heartbeat. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what they call you. If you listen, if you respect it, it won't lie to you." The boy grinned. Around them, the garage buzzed like an orchestra tuning up. Not just machines, but voices, futures, possibilities. On the far wall, next to Henry Coleman's mural, another photograph was mounted. Darius shaking hands with Dieter in Munich, framed beside his first official patent. The two images faced each other, past and present in harmony. The camera pulled back, catching the whole room alive with energy. Kids laughed, sparks flew, dreams took shape in grease and steel, and as the scene faded, the faceless voice returned, steady and strong. "Engines don't lie, and neither does true talent." Sometimes, the world will try to tell you that your place is small, that your hands are only meant for carrying trash, not building futures. But as Darius proved, true talent doesn't ask for permission. It shines the moment it's given a chance. Engines don't lie, and neither does the truth about who you really are. If this story moved you, don't just close the video. Share it. Talk about the time you were underestimated. Tell us in the comments when someone looked at you and saw less and what they didn't see burning inside you. Your story might be the next spark. Hit subscribe to join us here at Black Soul Echoes, where we bring the hidden voices forward. And if you believe in hashtag Black Excellence, in hashtag Engineering Justice, and in lifting up those the world tries to ignore, then share this video with someone who needs to remember, you are more than what they see. Always.